Yes, فاطمة tell me.
دكتور الكلاس روم أنا ما متفعل عندي.
ما معنى ما متفعل عندك؟
ما
فاطمة
تظهر عندي أي إشعارات، أنت ترسل هناك assignment وما أعرف ويش.
فاطمة سالم محمد العويسي أنت؟
لا.
واضح الكلام. Well, the others actually, do you have any questions? Meanwhile, I'm going to add Fatma just right now. For you, do you have any raised questions from the last class or the other classes even? Do you want me to explain anything? There is a problem in the attendance. Unavailable. Fatma,
Yes دكتور.
submit me your ID, please. The wave does not open. It shows the 503 error message. It's server side error, so I'm not able
رسلت
to.
لك
Yes,
إياه في
خلاص.
الشات.
تم الاستيلاء. You are here فاطمة. You 1378 ما هو أنت موجودة أنت أصلا، والمرة الماضية غايبة في الكلاس.
لا دكتور، المرة الماضية أنا قلت لك عندي موعد كان، راسلت لك في الواتساب قلت لي تمام ما
تم
بسجله.
تم الكلام.
دكتور أنا أقصد لك في الكلاس روم لما أنت ترسل أسايمنتات، أنا ما
يس
ظهر عندي الكورس أبدا، ظاهر الكورسات اللي مال الفصل الماضي. كيف
فاطمة
أضيف؟
فاطمة فاطمة. Now, actually, you have to have received an email now. Activate the link. Now you have received an email. Activate the link, Fatma. Let me find you inside. Check your email. Check your inbox. For the others, any questions, please? Let's keep going on from where we start. I believe that you answered the question I submit to you. Yes, Moza, she is here also. Moza, again, I'm asking you, Moza, are you 503 still the UA does not open? Regardless, Moza, can you submit me your ID, please? Moza, send me your ID here, please, in the chat, please. Moza, send your ID, please, Moza. Yes, good. I'll check the wave later on because for you, Moza, your name is not at all available with me. Later on, once the wave is on, I'll check it.
دكتور.
Yep.
دكتور تونا الحين كيف أحل هالأسايمنتات؟ يعني أنت من فترة كنت ترسل وأنا الحين بس انتبه.
برسل لك اياهم مره ثانيه تحصلين من الاسئله جاست تحلي وخلاص. اصلا موجودين في كلاس روم. does not need a permission. you'll find them موجودين ما حذفتهم موجودين.
يعني
يسبمت.
عادي بحلهن كامل وبرسل لك إياهن.
يس they are 4 اسئله يا ريمبر. 4 اسئله بسؤال اليوم باعتماد سؤال اليوم بعد الكلاس ما تحليهم تو بعد الكلاس.
تمام دكتور شكرا.
نفس الكلام يا موزا. just now you receive an invitation موزا. Yes, that's it. Moza done for you also. We terminate the. Let's keep going on. I'm going to activate the captions, and now I'm going to share my presentation with you. So, since you don't have any questions upgrades from last class, we start at the level of generating a chain script last class. We start at the level of defining the role of the SSDT in offline mode. We said that it gives us the same rich experience whenever we are working with an online database. And this actually rich experience leads us to deal with the local DB or local DBs in plural, as if you are dealing with an online one. This does not give us any restriction. So the same tools they are given to us, the same rich experience, it is given to us as developers. We talk. Then after actually it's the role of the SSDT to take care of it is the role, as per the question I sent you earlier, it is the role of the SSDT to take care of the updates of the online database, since it is the one to generate the change script, and it is the one to execute this change script. So it is the SSDT role to update the online database based from based on the local or the offline database. So create a change script here. Context is the context activity to be done through the SSDT itself. Just I'm going to show you one of the visual views. It is actually here. I'm going to show you this window. The change script, it is a context we saw last class. This is an example of change script. Are you seeing this this picture, please? Is it visible to you? Just say yes or no, because I'm in another window. I cannot see you.
Yes, Mr.
That's great, Musab. Okay, actually, the change script here, it is displayed to us through a graphical interface. SQL Server only. It is like any activity to do to create a new table. Right click. We visualize the entities we want, the entities or the objects we want. We do any alteration or any updates or any, let's say, up-to-date activity on the objects themselves, not the data. We are not talking about the data. We are talking about the objects themselves, the architecture of the, for example, table. We add a column or something like that, the content of a view or something like that. We make the updates. Then after we come to generate the change script, which is a context of an option in a menu. It's an option in a menu. You just right click in an empty place, in an empty place inside the let's say the control panel, the interface, the API, where you are visualizing the object in an empty place. Right click and you choose the option generate change script. Very easy. You'll find something similar to this. You'll get a window where the change script, it's a code, but summarizes what has been happening actually as updates since the last actually activity in a window. Either you copy paste the script, you take it manually and you execute it manually, or you just save it actually and you use it as a file later on. You just confirm, and you are going to yes, save it as a text file here. You're going to save it as a text file. To say yes means you're going to save it, and you utilize it later on differently. So the change script at the end of the day, the first view, it is a context of graphical manipulation of the options from within the SQL Server itself. We are manipulating the SQL Server to generate this change script after updates. Yet it's not the unique context how we generate the change script. Also here in the SQL Server, we may refer to the TSQL to execute the or to generate the change script and execute it. The change script, I come back, just excuse me to come back again. It is what is this? They are simple SQL queries. They are simple SQL queries, like actually I may say, to make manipulation on data inside the database, to manipulate the work flow inside the SQL Server itself, inside the given database, whether the objects inside the database, inside the given database, or whether the schemas, whatever. So it's not something mysterious. It's not something new. No. It's a simple group of SQL-based, let's say, commands. The same way here in SQL Server, we may not refer to those graphical interfaces if the thing is a little bit critical, and if the thing is with specific tasks to do. If we are just willing to do the creation of a chain script for a specific task, like this task here, like this example here, we are willing to submit an altered table and an altered view, both of them, to actually to be transmitted. Actually, it is the role of the SSDT, whatever. To, let's say, to the query builder, and finally we'll have the result, no more, no less. So we may refer to creating this chain script manually. What we are seeing here is simple, the same way. We are generating modifications, and we are just executing at the end of the day what we want to do, either display or inserts or whatever we want to do, we'll do it. It's not something something actually complex and new. No, it is a matter of understanding what to do, when to do, no more, no less. Based on what? Based on the SQL commands, SQL queries, chain script. Either this or that. Graphically, we can do based on queries and commands. We can do also at the end of the day. Work on with the offline database. The third type, or the third model of the databases, is one of the very rich experiences that the SSDT gives us. Still, we are able to work with the offline database. We saw that this last class. Just it's a simple reminder. Remember that the TSQL gives us the chance to work with the offline database components, and it collects everything through actually a feature. It's a feature nominated SCC, which is actually secure source code control. It is the one to collect all the altered objects and all the updates on created or executed inside an offline database, then after to be manipulated accordingly, whatever. The SSDT does not differ from working with an offline database or an online database. All the experience is available, all the tools are available. Remember this. We insist on this again and again. Yeah, absolutely. Once we are ready to deploy from an offline to an online or to an on-cloud database, it is the role of the SSDT, the API, to generate the chain script and submit it. So the SQL Server will be actually providing us the experience where whatever we are dealing with an offline database or an online database. The interface we use, SSDT, as per the example here, will take care of making the updates when needed. Change script, then update when needed. An example of an offline database viewed from the SQL Server itself. So the change script, it's a context of generating two snapshots, one at the early age before doing any updates, and the second one after finishing and before deploying. One before the updates and one before the deployment, before and after. And this is actually two timeline-based points in the life cycle of the creation of the project, or the project, let's say, life cycle. Before we make any updates, snapshot, it is one point in the lifetime of the project. It's a duckpack project, duckpack extension which generates this file, and another one before the deployment or at the end of the let's say updates. This is another point in the timeline of the project. After that, the comparison to happen, and deployment. If there is any necessity, there will be an update to the online one. No more, no less. The graphical experience is still one of the very persistent advantages and positive points through the SQL Server, is that we can use the table designer, remember, to do so many tasks, mainly related to tables, because they are the main objects and the actors and entities inside the database, the SQL Server database. But beside of that, it is the graphical interface that we may use to reach a variety of tasks to do based on the totality of the SQL commands. Means the table designer still allows us to execute the totality of the SQL commands upon the necessity. When we talk about a local DB, actually, it is one of the features that the SQL Server delivers to us. The local DB, it's one of the kind it's one of the databases that the SQL Server supports. It is based on the SQL Server local DB. It's one of the tools that the SQL Server gives us as an extension. It's not an extension, it's an add-in, it's a function, it's a component that to be added with the SQL Server. It's not the SQL Express. It's not the SQL Server Express. The SQL Server Express is one of the distributions that the SQL Server that the Microsoft provide. It is one of the SQL Server database engine, let's say, it's one of the database engines, SQL Express, which is not the one we talk about when we talk about the local DB. The local DB is one of the functions delivered through the SQL Express local DB. SQL Express local DB. It's one of the features that the SQL Server can support or do support. Yes, it helps us. It helps us. This SQL Server actually local DB. It helps us to work locally. Means without interrupting the live DB, without interrupting the workflow of the project from being down or brought down or stopping the end users from receiving the service. No, we just work offline, and this offline is using a local DB, and then after we'll carry on and we'll go for the update when needed using the change script. See here we are seeing a graph via which we see two databases which are the same, but one is an online view and the other one is in a local DB, local view. The one on top, it's one instance. It's a local DB. See the name here is local DB. It's the same database. It's the same database. Sample DB, it's the same database, whatever. But here, if you can see, we have three tables. We have three tables: customer order header and customer ranking. The customer ranking is not available here. The customer ranking is not available here. Here, the icon, see the icon shape. It's a server. The icon by that, the gray icon. It's not the same like here. It's an engine. It's a SQL Server, let's say, icon. It's not the same. So this is a local DB. It's clearly mentioned, and this is an online database. Here we are working and we are adding, let's say, components and whatever we can do or we are willing to do. Then after we come to update. But here we see everything in offline in the mode that end users or the application is not seeing. Good. So the local DB here actually, we can see the customer ranking as an extra entity which is not seen in the online. Updating a view is as per an example. The view, as first thing you have to understand, the view is one of the queries or commands that the TSQL enhances. Simply, actually, we are gathering a group of, let's say, commands. If we are having a complex SQL query, or let's say a compound SQL query, we may refer to a create a view in order to ease the use of that compound query or that compound complex command or query. So the create view is a context via which to make the use of a compound and complex query much more easier. It's a view, as per the word. It's just you see it, visualize it. So later on in the program, we will not use this code again. We will not rewrite the code again, but we are going to call only the name of the view. Since we are covering CD select here, from the select until here, the end, it is one just query. In order not to rewrite or recall this query here, we are generating a view to call it later on or to use it later on. So the view, it is an interface via which we see a query or a list of queries. Maybe we can, if the necessity pushes us. So the view, it will push us to view whatever the content is. Mainly we talk about one query, and the query has to be actually compound enough or complex enough in order to utilize the view. To avoid, actually, as per the first benefit is, or advantage is, to avoid the time waste later on when writing the code or when let's say reusing it when needed. It's an interface, the view, to help us reach the query. Full stop. Actually, the usage of the view, it is due to the TSQL enhancement or due to the TSQL support that the SQL Server enhances, and the usage of the views is still, the local DB is still admitted. In the local DBs, we can still create views. In the local DB, we are offline. Remember, we still can use, admit just to use the views and create views. I believe and I hope that the context of the views is clear. Remember, just I come back to the views. Here, remember, I creating a view, and this interface, this view, this window from which we see the query, it is simply like it is: create space view, and we give the name. The name is user defined. Create space view keywords. Here, the name is user defined. You name it whatever you want, and then after you do your query. With here, it's not necessary for now actually, because we may avoid it. The width. Create view, give name, and you give the query here. Create view, query, whatever. Just I'll give you a sample here, just to make you. Yeah. My computer is a little bit slow, so just I'll show it to you now. Are you able to see this SQL statement? Is it visible to you, please? I need an answer, please. Continue. Are you able to see this statement? Great.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. The creative view is simply two words, and the others, they are respectively to the command, whatever. You just write the name you want. You as a user, you give the name to the view, whatever. I may write Murad, I may write University of Nizwa, I may write Oman. It depends on the context. It's user defined. Create view, no. You change any word, does not go. Create space view. And what is this? It is just a name later on we'll use in the program. In the program or the project later on, if I write this name, it means that I'm going to execute this block. Here, this block is simple. Three, just very simple. But as per the example we saw it just in the presentation, here I come back. It is much more complex, and we may find more complex examples. Much more complex examples. So the view is just a name to call later on to avoid the rewriting the code fully. You just use the name, and it is giving you an access to that code. Very simple. This is enhanced using the TSQL. We are coming to an end defining the first security perspectives through the physical architecture, and physical and logical, not only the physical. All what we saw as features, they are enhancing the best work and the best behavior of the SQL Server databases. Now we come to one of the necessities that we may refer to here. Actually, this chapter is also presenting that it's not missing, and he's shown this feature to us, which is the context of refactoring objects inside the database. Refactoring or renaming, given a new name to an object from within an object from within a database, actually, to an object from within a database, SQL Server database. What is this and what does it mean? Here, actually, as per the example, for example, we have been starting working on the database of project ABC, and after 1 week or after 1 month or after 1 year, we need to rename some object for one object for a need or for a necessity or something like that. What should we do? Should we get blocked and stuck, and we do not have any chance to do that because of the referential integrity, or because of the let's say constraints that we have. No, we can do that. Actually, the SQL Server enhances the context of the refactoring, and it supports the support of the conventional nominations to objects inside the database itself. So as you can see what I'm highlighting to you here, convention to name foreign keys, for example, here actually it's an example only, convention to name foreign keys and something like that. The conventions actually, they are rules to use to name objects inside the database. If we break one of the rules, if we break one of the conventions here, this convention, if we break one of the conventions, there might be errors and issues later on. The behavior of the project won't be actually going as it has to be. So thus, in so many cases, we'll have to obey to the conventions in order to make the project run perfectly. So as per the example we are taking here is the nomination of the foreign key. Foreign key has to be actually given the name, so yes, FK, then the first table name, then the second table name. Here actually, as per the example here, dictates that the foreign key has to have the name FK underscore customer, then customer. It has to be taken off, then ranking. See here, this is the new. It is given here FK customer, customer ranking, but the name has to be customer ranking only. See, this is the name. So we need to rename it in order to obey to the convention, to the rule. FK to indicate foreign key, customer is the first table, ranking is the second table. So that's actually it is a context of just graphical action to do, and you just make your change script and update your online database. So refactoring is one of the features that the SQL Server enhances. Any questions? Any questions?
No, Mr. No.
Okay, سعيد خديجة. Okay, good. والبقية?
No, Mr.
Okay, good. So we passed through the before last topic, which is the context of the testing and debugging. Every single project has to give an outcome. Means actually whatever the database is, local, offline, or online, there have to be an outcome. One of the contexts that we have to consider here is not learning us, this book is not learning us how to debug or how to test. No. He's given us some rules to avoid issues and to secure the work. One of the points that this book raises to us is that not to push the developers not to do as developer actually the test while you are online. Don't test on the online databases. See the question, this is from the book, literally is from the book like it is. Are you in the habit of running new or untested code on live databases? The question is clearly given by the book. Copy paste. Actually, and this is also an advice from the book. Hope that you are not the one who's doing that. We certainly hope not. Why? Because if you do tests on live DBs, any issue causes the project to stop, the service to stop, users to be sent out, and the system to be brought down. Yes, because of an error. And it needs time to recover and to create the change script and to update or whatever, to restore the previous running state. It needs time. So the test on the live database is not one of the advised activity. It does not have to be happening at all to avoid such circumstances, which is the service down or the activity to be stopped. Actually, remember that we can do that. We can do that. It's not a matter of we cannot. No, we can do that because it's a matter of test only. Whether we are on local DB or on offline DB or on non-line DB, all they are, we can test on each of them. Yet we have to respect and to avoid possible issues in future. We have to avoid the risks. We define the risk at the beginning. Terminology, remember. last thing in this chapter, what we're going to see from this chapter is the context of the schemas comparison. Remember that a matter of comparison means we are going to do an update. We are going to do a deployment. We are not going to do a comparison for something actually to keep it or to save it. The unique comparison we saw up to now is the comparison of snapshots. For the purpose of what? Generating chain scripts. Here actually the context of the comparison of schemas, whatever the purpose is, because we may actually integrate an online to an offline, and we may integrate an let's say a local DB to an online DB. So there have to be actually comparison. Do we have the same nominations? Do we have the same let's say components and the same entities and so on? This comparison, it might be done actually by the SSDT itself, which is the API. The tool actually mainly it can be activated through the F5 button, as the book is. It is one of the functions that the SQL server supports. F5 from within the API, which is the SSDT, can lead us to compare schemas from a local DB to an online DB. Comparing two schemas. One is in a local DB, the other one is in an online DB. The F5 will lead the SSDT, sorry, the API, to generate a pointing string between the online and the local DB. Then comparison between the schemas available here and there. For the purpose of, if there are differences, there will be an update. Otherwise, everything will remain intact. Okay, summary here. Security actually in the database started with us, and we saw them as a physical perspective. We saw 4 levels that we may set in order to reach the objects at the end of the day, the data, starting from the server, then at the beginning I come back, starting from the server, then the database engine, then the database, let's say schema or something like that, then the object itself. Server, DBMS, database, then object or schema. There are 4 levels which are physically segregating the reach or the access to the database objects. Then after we talked about some terminologies, amongst of them, and the first and the most popular and one of the biggest enhancements is the TSQL, which has different challenges to be implemented. Then after we worked with the SSDT defining some of the features, online, offline, and we saw the let's say the connected mode, the disconnected mode, and thus this is the conclusion of this chapter number 1. Any questions, please? Otherwise, I'm going to pass to chapter number 2. Great.
مستر
Yes, tell أيه.
متى الكويز؟
الأربعاء القادم.
نزل الشابتر الأول.
شو الشابتر الأول ترى نازل يا آية موجود. But I'm going to send you the slides. You're talking about the slides. الكتاب موجود والشابتر 1 PDF موجود.
Okay.
يبقى السلايدز. I'm going to send them to you now. Quiz would be only from the book itself, and inclusively what we would be something actually mainly I'm reading 4 questions from today's class to the quiz. Chapter number 2 from now on is not included. Chapter number 2 from here on is not included in the first quiz, next class. Only chapter number 1 fully. And what we explained today in lecture, اللي شفناه There are 4 questions included in your quiz. So the video I'm going to submit to you later on, you have to read it. The video, you have to see it and you have to مر عليه تحفظه صم. Good. Chapter number 2 is clarifying to us clearly the TSQL enhancement. What is the TSQL and how you're going to use it to enhance the security versus the DBMS, which is the SQL Server mainly. TSQL, as per the first definition, is a transactional SQL query language. It is a context of rewriting the queries, which are the SQL, but in a way to enhance a little bit the queries to fulfill the functionalities in plural that a user might need or might require within a project with the shortest path. What does it mean? It means instead of writing 3 or 4 or 5 or 100 queries, simply they are SQL, we might run very few queries to finalize the same task. This is because of the enhancement given by this TSQL, the transactional SQL. It is mainly for generating transactions. It means we're going to submit queries and to receive responses differently and effectively. I'm going to stop here. Please, if you hear your name, type yes. Please, if you hear your name, type yes. I'm going to dictate your names. I'm going to stop the recording first.